Luca Nation, welcome back. Episode 827 of Luca's Tigers and Bronze Oh My, the best sports card podcast in the world and the only one bringing you daily content that's both, realistic, practical, ideas, concepts, cards, businesses, interviews. We try to bring it all under one roof, under one umbrella, and hopefully we deliver value for you guys out there today. I got one topic only, and it's I don't think it's a negative topic. I think it's maybe realistic. So I'll get into that a little bit. But before I do, is there Yankees? They won.
They won. They did.
Dodgers. I looked at their lineup. It's a shell of what it used to be, but yet somehow they keep winning.
I mean, it's last year's lineup without the pitching, but their lineup is last year's lineup, adding Freddie Freeman.
Is Turner still on that team?
Mm-hmm.
He's just like the fifth best player, so he doesn't even get noticed.
You don't even see him. I like Bellinger.
Incredible.
Sometimes plays, sometimes doesn't. Now Turner's there. He had a great game. I mean, it's
Turner sometimes doesn't play.
No, Turner plays, but Bellinger sometimes doesn't play. Bellinger's, it depends on who's pitching. But I mean, fun stuff, man. You went from a 3-game series to 5, and the Astros series was an interesting one yesterday, with the Mariners up on them. And that was against Verlander. And the Mariners knocked Verlander out after 4 innings. In a shorter series, if it's 1-0 Seattle and you've just lost your ace, that becomes a very, interesting series for the Astros, being down. Whereas now I think it may just be a sweep because I'm talking about like taking the heart away from a young team like Seattle like that. The best thing they have is, I always talk about this, Joe Torre, right? Game 2 is the more important game, right? Only as good as, momentum's only as good as the next day's starting pitcher. They got Castillo going today, and he may be my favorite pitcher in all the playoffs. I mean, he shuts the Yankees down. I don't want to face him at all, ever. I was hoping no, for the Mariners, Castillo. He was on the Reds. He was a trade deadline pickup. This is one of those things where, you pick somebody up at the trade deadline and all of a sudden it actually matters. And it happens in baseball, right? Juan Soto, same thing. I mean, it's not that weird, man. Basketball.
How is getting an ace pitcher at the trade deadline not weird?
Well, it's the same thing as, basketball has a weirdness of expiring contracts become valuable as well. I mean, it's sort of the same thing. Why it's not weird is the ace pitcher is no longer under team control after this season. So a team who has him can basically get something instead of just letting his contract end, and he's going to go sign with another team for big money anyway. Might as well get something back for him. And the other team, like Seattle, he may not stay there. He may become a short-term rental for them. But we'll see. We'll see. I don't think they play today. I think it's just National League today. We'll see if Thursday, if he's able to right the ship and Seattle's able to, split the series.
The thing about baseball is that you say that pitching is everything, right? You can't win without pitching. But then you see these teams let amazing pitchers walk.
Yeah.
So if the Reds want to be good, wouldn't it make more sense to let one of their good hitters go at the trade deadline versus potentially?
I'm sure they, at the trade deadline, there's people who are buyers, people who are sellers. I'm sure they let everyone go, and I'm sure the thought is that they're going to get something back instead of nothing. Maybe they got a young pitcher back or a pitching prospect or a batting prospect they could one day for trade for. But I mean, that team they're not most likely not going to pay what he's going to command in the open market from a big market team. That's one of the differences.
Okay.
But listen, it's fun. The Yankees look good, and we'll see this is a series the Yankees are supposed to win. They're heavy favorites in this one. And, I was talking to Ian when Seattle was up, and I said to him, something probably stupid, but this is the bravado of a Yankee fan when they're playing well, that I didn't want Seattle to win. Like, I don't just want to win a ring. I want to win a ring and go through Houston to get it. Like, I think it's better that we beat Houston than beat the Dodgers or whoever it is we're going to beat in the National League. And it's like true. They're the best team. They went out there. They beat I know you can only beat the teams that are in front of you. But, it's kind of like when I give Giannis crap for the title he won because he didn't really get to beat the best teams. Or LeBron for the last title because it was a bubble title. And, there's always some little narrative.
And
I
that
would.
comment to Ian is what caused Jordan to hit the 3-run home run at the
No,
top.
no. But that, by the way, postseason walk-off home runs when you are down, when the team is down, a postseason walk-off home run in baseball, even though baseball's been played for over a century, that's only the
50.
fourth. It's only the fourth time that's ever happened
Wow.
in the playoffs. We're talking about. Let's see if I remember them all. I know Lenny Dykstra did it in '86. I think Kirk Gibson, his walk off for the Dodgers. I don't know if maybe it was Joe Carter was the last one to do it in the '90s, maybe for Toronto, and
Kirk Gibson, the one that was like skipping around the bases.
Yeah, Kirk Gibson was injured, so he was the one who was
jumping,
like he was no Gibson was not. That was Carter. Gibson was the one who was doing this around the bases. He was injured, and they put him in as a pinch hitter, and he hit the ball on one leg. Basically, he was falling over, and he was the one who
Gibson
does
sounds
this.
like the type of guy that had a mean stash. Did he have a nice looking stash?
Yes. Oh yeah. Good mustache.
Kirk Gibson, he just sounds like he would have that.
He sounds like a movie star. It's like Mel Gibson.
No. That's a different kind of movie that you're watching.
Yeah, it's true. I've starred in a couple of those actually. So baseball playoffs. It's interesting. Now we're a couple of days away from basketball starting. But the biggest sport making headlines today, the sport that's going to take what?
Pickleball.
You don't want me to make a pickleball joke? You just want to ruin the whole thing? Okay, so what is your topic?
No, I didn't want because I knew. We share a brain where there's two babies that were connected at birth, and then the doctor cut their brains in half. So tell me the pickleball joke.
No, there's no joke now. It doesn't make a difference. I made a statement in one of our groups where I said pickleball is Lorcana, and the Disney Lorcana, that it's basically being forced on us by powers that be, and
I'm actually insane at pickleball.
I don't even know is there a pickle involved? Like, do you hit a pickle? Is the ball shaped like a pickle? Like, why is it pickleball?
Wiffle ball tennis.
So what's the pickle have to do with it?
Not sure. It's like it's wiffle ball tennis. Smaller
because
court.
you want to call everyone who's playing this a dick or a wiener, but you want to be nice, so you just say pickleball. Is that what it is?
I didn't make up the sport, but it has like an element of badminton to it. It's like a badminton court. But it's tennis because you can let the ball bounce once, but it's a wiffle ball.
Okay, so
and
soccer,
racquetball there too.
Football, you could tell it's ball and a foot. Baseball, you got a ball, you got bases, right? Pickleball, like where is the pickle? Are you in a pickle? Are you?
It actually dovetails into a lot of kind of the bigger. Some people just try to make fetch happen. To make fetch happen, you need a lot of money and a lot of influence.
Tom Brady, pickleball.
I have a feeling that the names behind that sport have some clout and are able to kind of push it forward. I don't know why specifically that got into that sport because I've never, ever seen them play. But
esports didn't work out as well as they thought it was going to.
You think that's what it is?
Maybe it's not fast enough. Maybe esports didn't work, as the way it was going to. You always have to be rolling to the next thing. In certain
I don't think they sell though. Like I think you're always rolling into a new idea, and hopefully, let's say you in 10 years you bet on 10 different things. One of them wins, and the returns on that. Like if pickleball becomes the 5th biggest sport, and esports dies, and you know what I'm saying,
you're still okay.
You're still okay because that one you're owning like the next NFL team hypothetically, so all the losses make up for it.
I mean, when it's big enough, though, doesn't the public wise up when the same couple of people are telling you the next big thing is esports? Follow Ninja and Booger. Then the next people are telling you, oh, it's pickleball time. Everybody grab your pickle and come out and hit the racket. It is a racket or is it a paddle? Like what? I don't even know what the hell they use. And then next year it's something else. It's like, hey, I know I told you esports were the thing. I know I told you, it was pickleball, but, everybody drop your pickleballs. And what we're going to do now is the drone racing league. And we're going to be racing our drones around. And then after that, you know what? A year after that, it's just something else. I mean,
I'd say their argument is probably if we're not hurting anybody, what's the issue?
Yeah, I think you're probably right. I think, if that's the way the world is going to work, we should allow all the insider trading in the world and, all the white collar stuff and no one gets hurt.
No, I've watched Wall Street. The most important commodity known to man is information. Gordon Gekko.
Gordon Gekko. Greed is
Trading
good.
ahead hurts people because someone has to win, someone has to lose.
Mm-hmm.
Here, it's entertainment. Turn off the channel if you don't
True.
like it. Right? Like they seem the same, but they're not. I was thinking about this quite a bit.
Yeah,
I will say the powers at B, and when I say the powers at B, not the people with money, I would say the people with social media influence, right?
The Illuminati.
Yeah, kind of, but like not really, almost at all. Like the people with influence, social currency, are the ones that are oftentimes behind these projects. And I think if you'd ask them, like they're like, "Hey, we're just having fun. This is something. I've always wanted to own a professional sports team, and if it's not hurting anybody, no big deal." It's not the same as Yuga Labs, for example, being investigated, for offerings, or it's not the same as trading ahead. This is they're creating a sport that, if it takes off, it could be fun. It could provide scholarships. It could provide viewing pleasure because. The same thing can be said about the WWE, right? One day it wasn't there, and then the next day somebody, Vince McMahon, created it and maybe created WWF or whatever, right? He took initiative, he provided entertainment value, and if he does well, if he does right,
yep,
he should.
No, all valuable. UFC is a good example. Right?
UFC is from 1993.
Different ownership group, but yes, at the time it was owned by a company called SEG. SEG era is a good time.
3 acronyms. That goes all the way back to the 90s.
Yep. And then Dana White came in and saved it with the Fertitas.
He's a savage. He's good at what he does, man. Dana deserves a tremendous amount of respect. But one thing I'm worried about is, honestly, in our own industry, I'm wondering if we are trying to make fetch happen. And I'll explain what I mean. Like, something I think I'm asking myself, and maybe you guys should ask yourselves, is if it all goes to zero tomorrow, will I be okay? And that's mentally, emotionally, financially. And I don't mean that in the negative sense, right? I mean that in more of the realistic sense of, we see all of these like ancillary businesses pop up, lending on cards, vaulting, authentication programs like, hey, I'm selling cards online. It goes through all of this other 5, 6, 7 grading companies, right? It seems to me we're trying to make an industry out of it. Yep. But a lot of a real industry, and oftentimes we compare it to the stock market. And then you lend off of your assets, and then you're able to buy more stocks. But it doesn't seem to me that the general public has taken to it. And I also see a lot of issues and holes. I'll give you one example. Comps from auction houses, right? So an auction ends, and then you have a period of time to consummate the sale, pay the money, right?
Yep.
And it's registered as a comp.
Yep.
That's great and all when cards are going up in price and everyone has money to buy stuff. But what if an auction ends, sets a comp, but that item goes unpaid for, and now it's relisted? That comp still exists, but now you have a live auction based on that comp, but that's not even an accurate comp because it was never paid.
Yeah. How do you propose to clean that up?
Well, here's the issue. It's very difficult to clean that up, right? Something that we've wanted to do was infuse liquidity into the market. So I own 100K in assets. Maybe I could use 150K to buy stuff.
I like it.
But that only works if I truly have 100K in assets, because in reality, I just have a piece of cardboard that's covered in plastic that says a grade, and because it's covered in plastic with that specific grade, it's that price. But that might not even be a true price, because what if no one's willing to buy at that price?
I mean, I think you've probably labeled one of the biggest conundrums of this alternate asset argument, right? And why I think there is a hesitation for, Wall Street type of money to come into this, because it's funny. I posted a story today comparing it to like real estate. I don't know if you saw it. There was a couple of stories on there comparing, pricing and 2008 and, markets going up, markets going down. It was an interesting, couple of charts. And I got some great feedback from people. But some people were really dove into it about how, like, real estate can't be compared to this because
Can't
there's
live in
holding
February.
costs in real estate, there's holding costs, there's transaction costs, there's all stuff. But then the
There are
best
literally
message,
holding and transaction costs in
but the
sports
best
cards.
message that I got from somebody was cards are not an asset class like real estate. Cards are a collectible, and this is a
Yeah.
hobby. It's not a business. It's just a hobby. And I mean, it's funny because there are still people who think like that. And your premise, let's just go right back to the beginning. Will I be okay if it all goes to zero? What's funny is there's probably a sector of people who've been around for a long time who would tell you you should always think it already is zero. The fact that some of these things have value to them on any given day is an added little bonus. These are, this is a hobby. It's, it's something you collect. And if you're able to make money in it, okay, great, but that shouldn't be the end goal. Whereas the other side to the equation stuff you're talking about is, do I have 100K in assets that I can borrow against? Now, all of a sudden, it's a very different thing. It's something that we're trying to collateralize. It's something that we're trying to turn into a business and, insure it at a certain amount of money, who knows what it's worth, right? And I love the topic and I love where we're going. And I think it's one of those things that the hobby may have to solve for before the masses come into it. Or the flip side, maybe it's something that doesn't have to be solved and the masses come in mostly because they just want to have fun. They want to buy things that they're a fan of. They want to buy this collectible because they happen to be a fan of Shohei Ohtani and they want to own something that he, a piece of his jersey or a card from the year where he did something they watch.
So let's unpack that. And the
Sure.
landscapers just showed up. So it's going to be, can you hear it really bad?
No, it's perfect. Do you think?
Well, okay. If I want to have fun, I'm probably not dumping 80-90% of my disposable net worth into it. I'm probably dumping like 0.05%, right?
Yep.
So like, okay. Yep. And when I want to have fun, I'm dumping 0.05, and there's a lot of people doing that in the gold market, and maybe that pushes prices up a little bit, but that's not what happened. Mm-hmm. People dumped a significant percentage of their net worth. And the whole it goes to zero concept, it's interesting. I like what you said. It's already zero.
Yeah.
Which isn't like a stock or a house, because a house doesn't go to zero because you live in it.
Yep.
So
there's always some intrinsic value, you're saying.
Yeah,
some utility, if we dare use that word.
So, right. So in the house, with a stock, it's also not going to zero because you have the underlying earnings of the company. Okay, companies go to zero because they stop. But like you have the company, you have the plant, you have the IP, you have all these things that you could actually solve for and come up with some sort of your own calculation. Whereas here, I actually think Wall Street money did come in and what the market said. And the market is like this collective whole of all of our brains. It was like, we don't want what you're selling. We don't want liquidity. We don't want any of that stuff because it kind of doesn't make a lot of sense. That's what I'm seeing.
I mean, are you trying to talk about something sort of like chicken or egg, right? Because the liquidity and the money came in, it wound up causing the comps and the pricing to go a little out of whack. And it's not that the liquidity, the lending is coming in now because prices went up. Prices went up because of liquidity coming in?
I think prices went up because of just an insane amount of demand and an insane amount of money. And
I think prices went up because we had a perfect storm in 2020 and people were stuck at home.
Define a perfect storm then.
Okay, so people were home doing nothing.
Yes.
Right? They not only were locked up because of a pandemic in their homes, looking for nostalgia, looking for something that made them feel better about their lives, their current situation. You always harken back to something where times were better. That's why cardboard, memorabilia, you name it, was one of many segments that people look to for nostalgia. But it also came at a time where a couple things. I say perfect storm. Number one, money was easy. Right? Interest rates were low. There was stimulus being paid out to people. So everybody had money and it was easy to, get whatever money you needed. But more importantly, no one was spending money on anything. There was no going out. There was no going out to eat. There was no, I need to buy this, this, and this. I didn't have to go to the dry cleaner. You don't have to go and commute. You don't have to pay for gas. Everybody was home. Everyone was locked up doing nothing. No one had to commute. More importantly, there were no vacations. There were no Broadway shows. There were no movies. literally people were home trying to reminisce with nostalgia and had nothing else to spend their money on.
And that resulted in, here's the crux, like an order book, bids and that resulted in a tremendous amount of bids. You know how we used to look at NFTs and we're like, I was like, Cage, you see the floor price? And you're like, Cage, that's not the floor price. No one's buying at that price.
Right. Just because that's the price, it doesn't mean people are actually paying it. Yes. 100%.
We look at price and comps and we're like, that's the price, and let me lend on that price. But what if that what if that price was derived because there was two bids going for that card? One of the bids is gone. Now you have one bid. Maybe the next auction is half the price that it ended. And the third auction, no one even wants that fucking card.
Yep.
What's the price of that card?
Yeah.
What that
especially
the Warren Sapp got bid up to $18,000.
You mean the
green PMG,
the Reggie White?
What did I say?
Yeah, Warren Sapp.
Oh, nice.
It's okay though. I mean, I know who you meant, but
yeah, okay, so amazing card. It's a piece of art, no question about it. 15 ever made, greatest sacker of all time. I saw him push a guy once and then sack a quarterback with one hand. Incredible.
Roughing the passer. Then he went out and baptized the guy afterwards.
Did he really?
That was Reggie White's big thing. He's a minister, and he baptized teammates. He baptized opponents. He would take them in, and baptize them. I'm telling you, that was we used to watch that. I mean, dude was a good guy character. Fun stuff. Go ahead, sorry.
But let's say hypothetically, two people really wanted that card. They were bidding for that card, and it ended at 18-5. That card comes up again, and now there's only one bidder left. Yeah, it's not going to get bid up in that competitive bidding.
Forget about the Reggie White. Look at the Muhammad Ali belt that Jim Irsay bought. Clearly, there were two people bidding for that, and he had to pay $6 million was what that belt, the Muhammad Ali belt. Remember, we were talking about it. Well, there's one on Collectible. I think it's trading for under $1 million in market cap. Right? You would expect the number two bidder, who was willing to pay $5, to come in and bid it. But now, why? You don't have to. Because it was just you two butting heads trying to, win it for $5 and change. Or, dare I say, maybe it wasn't two bidders. Maybe, I would imagine that belt, Jim Irsay from the Colts probably paid the $6 million. But maybe for a reason. And maybe he's got 4 other Muhammad Ali belts. I have no idea. Maybe he's got belts of other champs and he wants to say this is a $6 million belt, so these ones are 3. I don't know. And I'm using that as an example. Obviously, I don't think he's involved in the pumpy dumpy, but it does show how easy it would be to do that, how there are reasons to do it, right? And maybe if you were somebody out there who owned 10 Michael Jordan 86 Fleers, you bid one up to $720,000 because now the 10 that you own are worth $7 million. Allegedly, based on that comp.
Sure, that's a layer on top. My main point here today is actually not about like the poor behavior on top of the hobby, because that stuff happens in crypto.
Everything. Yep. Okay. So let's take it off there and go to.
But it's actually more of this like infrastructure that we're building around with just buying cardboard of men and women.
So let me ask it this way, right? So it's the cardboard, right? So I think what you're saying, and there's one difference. So I think what you're saying is, let's talk about it like a gold rush. Right, the 49ers, San Francisco 49ers, 1849, right? There's a gold rush out, and everybody rushes out there to pan for gold because there's riches there, right? And no one knew there was gold there before, but all of a sudden, maybe there were a couple people doing it, but all of a sudden everybody rushes in to pan for gold because that's where the money is. Just like everybody rushed in here into the market because the hobby was where the money was, right? And everybody comes in, and not only people looking to pan for gold, but all of a sudden these mining towns kind of set up, right? Where people are selling pans for gold. People are selling the pickaxes. People are selling, maybe they're selling lodging around there. Maybe a couple bars open up for the people to spend their gold money on. You name it. So like a little town.
Here's what, but the businesses that also set up are like, hey, I'll lend you money so that you go find gold. Mm-hmm. And then you'll pay me back 10% of whatever value you get.
So what's your issue?
I'm not even sure there's gold there anymore.
And that's becoming the difference, right? So twofold here. Number one, what's your issue with those businesses? Because just like you said before, because just like pickleball, right? Starting pickleball, you don't have to turn the TV off. If you don't want to borrow, you don't have to borrow. I'm not forcing you to borrow money from me.
Right. Let me. That's a good question. I have no issue with the business. I love capitalism. I love being able to, like in America, you can start a business. EIN, articles of incorporation, bank account. You have a business.
Yep.
It's, hey, I wonder if those businesses are sustainable, if they can last in this industry.
So in the gold rush, what happened is they panned all the gold, and there was no more gold there anymore. You would like to think that with all the brains and money in the hobby, with a resource that is renewable, because there's another class of people coming every year, and there's another product, there's continuous flow of the resource that we're all there to pan. We're all there to,
I thought about this.
Well, please.
So you have like the people that are coming for gold, right?
Mm-hmm.
But you also have these people that are like, whoa, look at how many people are out there looking for gold. We can't let them go and find gold elsewhere. We know we're running out, but we need to make sure that there's pseudo gold still in there. And
Steph or Jen? Pseudo. Remember the NFT days?
We can't let them go get silver in Montana. We need to keep this gold coming. We need to supply the gold. And they start selling Fox gold, fake gold. And like, oh, they won't notice. They'll see it later on. They won't notice.
Yep.
Faux gold.
Yeah. Faux. They're selling faux. I mean, it also could be Vietnamese food. But I mean, listen. Fa you.
That's a big debate. Is it faux or is it pho? Let us know in the comments.
I just say faux. I mean, it is what it is.
Most normal people would, but I think the people, like the foodies that emerged in the 20s.
I like those. They say
it's pho.
What the fuss say? So what you're now saying, even though I tried to take it to a layer of the bad actors who are on top of it, are you now saying like there are bad actors out there pumping fool's gold, faux gold? Like where are you going with it?
We as humans, we love this, good or bad. It's incentive driven. It's the people. Imagine someone was creating gold. Who creates gold? Topps Panini. And someone else creates junk, it's Leaf. So Topps Panini, and then there's like copper, Leaf. And they're like, we can't let this demand leave.
So you know what I think it is? I think it's real gold. But I think what happens is after the gold that's out there is mined, and everybody has been able to make their gold, the people who were out there first, the people who were in it for a while, who were at the town already, or the first ones to go, there was enough gold for them to mine. It covered the costs of their panning equipment. It covered the cost of their exploration. But even though there's still gold, I think what happens is over time, what changes is there's more people out there spending that money to pan for gold, right? They're spending the money. They got their operations going. And now, while there's gold there's a lot of little gold dust. There's a lot of little speckles of gold that people can get. And 90% of the time, those little speckles are not going to cover the cost of their gold mining operation. But 1 in 10, nay, 1 in 5 times, they're going to hit a huge win. They're going to get a nugget in their panning operation.
Which they later find out is fake gold. That's the annoying part.
Well, let's get there in a second.
Player worn, not affiliated with any player. 69 1-of-1 match.
I guess what I'm saying, we'll get
gold
there.
Is exquisite 2003 that was made with love.
And I guess where I'm going,
set.
It became more of a gamble. It became now we're breaking product, where previously it was okay. People bought cards and were able to make money on the cards. People were able to flip. The pricing was low. Now you're coming in, and the panning for gold is now breaking. It's now okay. You and you know what? Let's go for a second. Maybe we've turned this gold mining town into an entertainment town, and maybe people enjoy mining. Maybe people go out there because they think it's fun, right?
So people at the door now are like, hey, before you could even try to get gold in that river, pay us $50 to come in, and we'll provide a little entertainment. We'll
pan it for you. You be in the audience. We'll pan the gold for you. You watch us. Maybe we'll wear a weird outfit while we pan. Maybe I'll
have a little person on top of another person.
I'll dress like a ninja. I'll dress like a ninja. I'll hack away.
Mac is an amazing.
And maybe I'll wear. Maybe I'll shake. Maybe I'll shake. I'll shake the pan. Shake. But you know what? You're going to pay me, and 100 people, you're all going to pay me the same amount.
Because I set the price.
5 of you are going to be happy with the amount of gold that gets panned your random time. 95 of you, I'm going to give you some gold flex, but it's not going to be enough to cover what you paid me. The gold mining town has shifted.
They put a fence around all the gold?
It's now Vegas. It's now Vegas. But I don't know how you come back from that. And also, what's funny is...
Backyard Breaks is casino. It's Robert De Niro running that bitch.
I mean, the way the market is now, it's much more akin to a casino. It's more gambling. I mean, and people message me all the time, you know, because I guess I don't want to say it's a pessimist slant, but, you know, I do preach some risk management, know what your risk tolerance is. And I do probably say it's harder to make money. And people message me all the time that it's not hard to make money. Breakers make money. People can break. Here's how you break. Here's what you have to do. Mystery packs, another one, right? So I said breakers, but you know, what if I went out there and I panned my gold, and I took 100 pans, and I covered the top of them, and 5 of them had nice gold nuggets in them, but the other 95 had all right. You know, you're gonna lose. You're not gonna lose that much. Now I got mystery pans.
I'm worried about that. I'm worried about that because let me explain what I'm worried about specifically. You just said breakers make money.
Mm-hmm.
It's scary building assumptions on false premises. It's like building a house on. So we assume that because no breakers ever like, guys, I got to be honest with you.
No, they just leave. Yeah, they just leave when they're not.
They just leave, or they'll flex their Rolex and they'll still act like they're killing it. No breaker is coming out like, man, I really lost money last week, and here's why, and let me educate you. So we think they're making money, but we don't know it for certain, and we don't know if it's everybody. We don't know if it's a less percentage. We don't know. You know what I mean?
People with product. People have the gold ahead of time. They don't lose money because they set the price in a way where they don't and can't lose money. I mean, you're talking about like overhead. But still, I mean, you know, that direct stuff and getting the product now, it's so huge. I mean, even the overhead gets taken care of. I understand what you're talking about, like the smaller people who came in and broke because, you know, hey, I was able to get a whole bunch of product, you know, retail from Walmart, and, you know, or people who break and say, you know what, I'm going to fill this, I'm going to sell it at an auction, and whatever it fills for, Not
even those, like breakers who are a head breaker who hired breakers under him, guaranteed them set salaries, bought a huge location.
So let's think about that for a second. Think of how far removed from the hobby that is, right? So this is the premise that I'm going on, that the hobby is no longer about cardboard. It's no longer about nostalgia. It's no longer about, hey, I like this card. The businesses are now multi-level marketing schemes. They're Tupperware, where I'm going to make money based on breaks, and you're going to break for me, and I'm going to have a mafia-esque capo with soldiers situation where we're just going to break and break and break as much as we can, and you're going to make this, and I'm going to make this, and blah, blah, blah. And those people aren't even really involved in the cards. It's now a casino. And we have casinos already.
Yeah, but the difference is casinos, you have to put your bet in. To me, you run auctions. So what if you're auctioning breaks?
Well, not everyone, but the auction. If you're running an auction for breaks, you're the one gambling also. Okay. There's 2 gambles there, right? You're gambling, and the person who's, you know, trying to buy in is also gambling. It's just funny, man, because, you know, I have no problem with breaks. I have no problem with gambling. I have no problem with going to a casino and lose money. It's entertainment for people, right? They get a show out of it. They, you know, all the stuff. I have no problem, you know, with people who do it however they want. And I think this may be something that, you know, Fanatics kind of brings in. It's like an entertainment type of thing, right? You know, and I don't have a problem with what Backyard does. I mean, you know, if you lose $5 or $10 on a break, I think you can make an argument you're getting $5 or $10 worth of entertainment from those lunatics during the break. It's like watching a show, you know, and, you know, you could definitely make that argument. I guess where I'm going is, if you go with all this conversation, it used to just be, I'm going to buy a card because I like this player. All right. Then it became, all right, this card, it's worth something. Right. Then it became, all right, a lot of people want to come and grab those cards because it's worth something. All right, well, there's not enough of those cards. Well, there's got to be a supply of new cards. Okay, supply of new cards. And then then the offshoots, then the lending, then the businesses, then the whole 9 yards. And the bigger it gets, the more has to keep coming in to keep feeding the beast to keep this going. And I think what we've seen now is a tremendous shift, and not a bad one, right? I mean, the younger
I don't
audience.
think we found the diet that this beast knows. Like, I don't think we found the diet that this beast needs. And here's what I'll say is, so you have these people panning, right? You have the entertainment, the breakers. We're like, shit, the gold's running out there, so we need to print more gold to keep up with the demand. But here's the crux of where it all falls on itself. Eventually, the people that paid that ticket at the door, hey, watch people pan, got a hit. They go back into town with their gold and they get it appraised.
All right, we're back.
And when they go and get it appraised, then they're like, this is shit. They're like, I just hit the jackpot and I get shit. What did all those guys go? And you start telling them, it's just like, dude, don't go back into there. The best case scenario, you lose $50. Worst case scenario, you probably lose your wife.
Well, I mean, I have seen what some of those backyard guys look like. You know, I could see them stealing.
This isn't about backyard. It's about the whole industry. Backyard's one tiny little percentage of the industry.
I understand what you're saying, man. And I mean, listen, but you know, it depends why your gold is suddenly worth less. Is it worth less because it was never worth something to begin with? Is it worth less because the player you got or who you invested in or who you hit in a break has gotten injured, or because of overall market correction? I mean,
it has no scarcity and no value, no intrinsic value, and it's made shoddily. So it's all a culmination of factors. So,
all right, so how do we fix that?
It has no scarcity because supply exceeds demand, right?
Okay.
They made as much supply to keep up with the rising demand. Demand fell off significantly. We know that. So then it has no real value because it's actually not even a player signing it. It's the wrong player. It's on a sticker. It's a fake patch. Or, I mean, honestly, can we start actually calling Dick's Sporting Good patches fake patch? It's just who swapped those out. It was this. So it has all of those things going against it.
Yep.
So if you could solve for one, at least make an amazing product that has some sort of like, whoa, that's a beautiful card. That's a gorgeous card. I want that card. That's a one-of-one Jerry Rice with the shield that he actually wore for the 49ers in the 90s.
So honestly, what I would say is I think some sort of a change has to come, whether it's tech change, some sort of a change has to come to the hobby to do that, because what you're describing now is exactly what happened from the late 80s to the early 90s. And that is the junk era, right? I mean, you know, people were collecting cards in the 80s. All of a sudden, there was a run, and people came in, tried to buy more cards. And what wound up happening was the business boomed. It expanded like crazy. And you had more card companies, Upper Deck, you know, I mean, you name it. Then there were super premium brands. And all of a sudden, the amount of product well exceeded the amount of demand for it. Why? Because everybody came in thinking that their cards were going to be worth what, you know, the vintage stuff was worth. They were going to be worth, but there was too much of it. It's never going to be worth that. And it wound up, you know, kind of, you know, bubble bursting. But what came out of that was you went from just having 792 baseball cards that all look the same. The only difference was a picture on it, to autographs, numbered cards, art style cards, chromium cards, refractor cards, you know, PMGs, you know, numbered inserts, autographs, jerseys with the that was the birth of this.
Technological shift. It was probably easier to print that stuff too.
Correct. So
back in like the 50s, I think in 60s, they were hand cutting shit stuff.
Yeah, and then all of a sudden now you have something different, something that is now more collectible. People autographs on cards, jerseys in cards, numbered cards, actual scarcity.
Well, first it was shiny in the 90s, then it was patches.
And look what we've done. What we've done now is we've taken those things that were new, the shiny, the patches, the numbered cards that are really scarce, and over time we've now made everything shiny. We've now basically put autographs of people we don't care about in everything. We've taken the jersey patches, which used to be new and awesome and cool, and turned them into something people don't want. Like I'm seeing, you know, keep your napkin is like a hashtag that's like trending, you know what I mean? And not real. So, and we've made everything that was scarce, numbered cards, now are, you know, they're more plentiful. I mean, we talked about how many one-of-ones there are even of like, you know, some of the young quarterbacks.
Now numbered is like, just like.
So what changes?
Well, let's forecast. But first, I want to define the word junk, because people hear junk wax, and I think it's important. Why does Cage love Jerry Rice? That Jerry Rice rookie. It's not because it's not like junk. It's because it's the only one. There's
Yeah.
no opportunity cost of going for something else.
But
So
it is not rare. It's
It's not-
created scarcity. You know, there is not a single football card that's been graded more by PSA than the Jerry Rice 1986 rookie card.
correct.
But it's it. That's it. That is the card for him. You know, you want to make an argument. Maybe his PMG green now has kind of gone there. But your point is exactly right. That is the card. So everybody who wants to collect Jerry Rice knows that's the card you want to go for, right?
And here's how you guys could test this in your own lives. The restaurants that you guys frequent the most, I would venture, have the smaller menus. Because with each, have you guys remember, you know those huge menus you guys get at your door? You're like, no way, this can't be, this can't be a good restaurant. And there's something to that. There's something to the psychology of with every other choice, it takes away from the choice you choose.
I like that. And I think you're right. It's sort of like a loyalty thing, too. Even when you go to the same place, you're always going to buy the same thing. You're always getting that Kung Pao chicken. You know?
Chipotle used to crush it when it was just bare, simple what they had. Then they started adding queso, then sofrito, then this kind of option. And you're like, Now forecast.
I get Andrew angry, by the way. I tell him it's one of those weeks he had a bad week on whatnot. I'm like, no guac for you at Chipotle.
Chipotle feels healthy, but it's like it's not. I don't. It kind of blows my mind because I want to sleep after it. Same with Chick-fil-A. I think they put something into it.
Yes.
Forecast. So a lot of people hear NFTs and they're like, whoa. But like really the thing that I think forecasting is if I own a specific card of someone, maybe I get an opportunity to meet and greet with them once, twice, 3 times a year. That's an interesting thing that breeds loyalty to holding on to the card. Now, if I'm selling the card, I might not be able to meet Luka. Where would you forecast it? What is the Topps Chrome refractor?
Yeah, you can't do it on every one, right? But recently, I think this past week, there was a video released of Luka signing some autographs, right? And you see the way they do it. He signs it, moves it over, signs it, moves it over, signs it, moves it over. Well, what if Flawless National Treasures, whatever it was, that for like the gold autographs out of 10, you know, the hollow, RPAs or whatever it is, each one, look, I had to take a minute, but each time he signed, he said, all right, here we go. This is, I'm signing number 1 of 10. Congratulations to the owner of this card. Next. Here I am signing number 2 of 10. Like it would take, 10, 20 seconds. And those videos are now owned. Each individual one is now owned by Panini or Fanatics or Topps or whatever it is. And on the back of the card is a QR code that when you hit it, it links to the video of Luka signing your actual card. It's almost like a personalized message from Luka to the owner of the card. It's just something I thought of when I watched that video. It's something that takes the collectible to the next level. And you remember we had rips on? Yeah, it's like Cameo. We have rips on where he didn't think the card really got him to a game or to the player. Whereas, let me get the net from Trae Young's first game and put it on my head. And now I have this thing, right? That now takes it from a napkin or a Dick's Sporting Good to something that is really tied to a moment that you see the player signing your card. You have that card. So I had that Ronda Rousey 1-of-1 rookie card, finest autograph. I have a picture of her holding the card. You know what I mean? And that was a cool little addition to the card. Like here she is holding the card, holding it up like this. I think those kind of things, now they're very difficult, and Luka's going to sign thousands of, everyone's going to sign thousands of things, and maybe it's just a very limited.
You think it's very difficult? I thought that was low-hanging fruit.
But not to do it for everything. You know what I mean? Like it's got to be.
We don't need it for everything. Scarcity is by default not everything.
So that's just
if
one
everyone
idea.
could own a beachfront house, it's not scarce. If everyone could fly first class, it's not scarce.
I mean, having game used is an interesting thing. Now, you wouldn't think that having game used items is all of a sudden something that is crazy, but maybe if game use is so difficult to get, and maybe there are Dick's Sporting Goods stuff, but the low numbered stuff, the number to 10, the number to 25, the real chases are going to actually have game use stuff.
You bring the card to Dick's and you're like, hey, can I get the remainder of this jersey, please? And
well, I mean, listen, you're right, and you're taking it more towards the utility side, right? Of like, the whole deal. I mean, look, maybe set collectors should be rewarded. I remember in 1994, Topps Stadium Club basketball that I collected, if you got a super team card, it was your super team was of the team that won the championship. They sent you another set of cards that had this like super team foil on it. I got the Rockets and they won, and it pissed me off because I was a Knicks fan, and they beat the Knicks. But I got a new set.
This was the
with
year Jordan took off, right?
yeah, no, yes. Jordan was off exactly, but there were still Jordan cards in the set. And I have these cool Jordan like frequent flyer. I have these cool Jordan sharpshoot like cards that say, finals team, super team, whatever it says finals on it, 1994 finals in gold etching. So that's been around for a long enough time. It's almost like redemption wise. I don't want to do redemptions because these companies can't do redemptions. But like, look, Ian and I went to a Met game at the end of the season here. I don't know, month left in the season, whatever it was. And we had one of the, the home run cards. Pick your player, pick your home run. It was a Pete Alonso card. And you have to pick what day he's going to hit a home run. So the night before we went to the game, we put Pete Alonso was going to hit a home run during this game. And we went, and every time he got up, Ian had the card with him. He's like, and he hit a home run. So we got a separate like home run winner card. We just got it in the mail, like Pete. So there's ways of doing that where maybe Fanatics, because now they're bringing in sports betting. Maybe there's a way to, tie the two in. Maybe you get a card of something that allows you to bet on that team, or maybe I don't know.
There's so many options,
but there's got to be something that.
Mahomes doesn't have a 2017 Kaboom.
You told me that because we were talking about it during the PWCC.
Right, so his first is 2018. They knew there's going to be another type of Mahomes that isn't a star coming in, does really well, and he's left out of the release. But for downtown, do that as a redemption. Print 100 downtowns, and if somebody meets the criteria, number out of 100, and send that player's downtown to those people. Now you have to wait for an autograph.
It's also helpful, right? Because, it's a way to kind of gamify the whole thing. And if breaking is not going anywhere, well, then you know what? Maybe Panini puts out a checklist of Mahomes cards. And I'm not talking about like every insert or whatever it is, but maybe Panini in a given year, let's say this year, they, across all their products, they have, let's just use 100, okay? I know it's more, but let's just say there's 100 Mahomes cards. They put out a checklist and they say, okay, Mahomes collectors, we're not putting downtown, or we're not putting whatever the release we're going to put. Let's call it the not kaboom. Let's call it the kombucha, right? The kombucha.
Whatever people love that year.
We're only going to give that to a play. It doesn't have to be autographed. It doesn't have to be something that's hard to make with a redemption. You're not going to get a game-worn Patrick Mahomes, but it's the kombucha insert of Mahomes. You have to own all 100 of the cards. And I don't know how they do this. Maybe it's like a scan on the back, with a QR code so that you have to scan it in and it's part of your inventory on Panini, whatever it is, or Topps. And okay, I got them. All right. Well, I'm looking for this. And you do it with every player. Do it with Josh Allen. Now, all of a sudden, the breaks have, the base cards or whatever are starting to be worth something to collectors who are building towards sets so that they can ultimately go and get all of the 100 Mahomes or Josh Allen or Lamar Jackson cards so that they can get the kombucha insert. Like, there are definitely ways to do this. What's funny is we're talking sports. We're a daily talk radio show in the form of a podcast, and people love it. We've come up with these ideas off the top of our head. We didn't prepare this. It wasn't like, give me an hour. Imagine if we had like a focus group and actually spent days or months and had resources behind it. You'd come up with even better shit.
Off the top of our head, because we do this every day, first off. Sometimes I question the people that they hire if they're actually...
I guess that's true.
You feel me? Because the easy part's the ideas if you're in it every day. You know what I mean? The ideas are a kind of a cause, not an... or the effect, not the cause. Judge just hit home run 62. Mm-hmm. They had 90,000 orders, right?
Yep. Beat the Bernie Sanders card.
1% of that is 900. Why not go to Judge and have him hand sign 100 of them? Why not the other 800 make them really, really interesting and unique parallels?
I think they did. By the way, there's also the greed in it. They had Judge autograph versions. There was 1-of-1s, out of 5s, like a gold one. You have to buy. And you know how much the 1-of-1 was? It was like $15,000.
No, that negates the purpose.
Not for Topps, if the purpose is making money. And trust me, they did. Topps now is a huge moneymaker. I mean, they make a lot of money.
Right. And it's those people that have the fence and their goal is to make the money. You know, like we have to sell these guys something, fake gold. But so Topps takes that money, pockets it, but that money never sees the light of day in the economy. Versus you put that money, you let someone randomly hit the 1 of 1 for $15. That person is going to rebuy more and more and more cards. It's a stimulus for the economy.
Yeah.
For the hobby economy.
Yeah, no, I know what you mean.
Versus taking $15K and putting it on your balance sheet. You're going to waste it anyway.
Well, remember, they have
snacks in the cafeteria, on cold brew for the employees.
Just some ice water on top of it. It's not that they could just take it and not do it, right? The reason why they're able to get judged to maybe consider doing something like you're talking about is because the deals that everyone has now with the Players Association, it provides money, provides monetary incentives for those players, for the Players Association. So a company like Topps, Fanatics, whoever it might be, Top Shot, they do have to continue to fill the coffers, because if they don't, if they're not charging for it and they're not kicking back that money to the Players Association and to the players won't resign with them. The players won't do it, right?
So in the 80s, when these guys were plumbers and working part-time, we were able to take care of people. Now these guys make hundreds of $1 million. The leagues are bigger than they've ever been. Every team's $1 billion organization, and they need your $15K for Judge's Auto.
Yeah. I mean, it was a rare occurrence when I was a kid to hear a sports player talk about how it's a business. Most guys, and remember, I romanticize like everybody else does about how it was better when I was a kid, but most guys talked about how lucky they were to be able to play a kid's game and get paid for it. Money changed, and now what you hear is it's a business. And I get that, and I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. You know, leagues, owners, players, they all make business decisions. They don't rely on big money. But I know what you mean, and you're right, but I'm never going to get between someone and their money either. Obviously, these players are a huge draw. We talk about them. These cards are based on them. The whole hobby is based on, you know, the athletes that are pictured on the cardboard, right? So I could
make a compelling argument that the growth of sports goes hand in hand with the growth of free marketing with cards, because it's absolutely free marketing.
But I think what it's going to take to do that, though, is the downshift that you're seeing, right? Yeah. I mean, you know, we use Top Shot as an example, right? I mean, they probably signed a second contract with the NBA based on the numbers that they were doing last year. And the NBA finally looks at it and says, all right, well, the numbers this year are not the numbers last year. What happened? You know, Top Shot might have to make some changes. They might have to do some things that might not be good for their consumers, because they're trying to now, it's almost like trying to serve two masters, right? You can't take care of your customer while at the same time trying to maximize profits all the time. And I think ultimately there's got to be, and you've talked about this, like, you know, the responsibilities of corporations in society, right? And the responsibility of some of the companies here, you know, sometimes leaving a little meat on the bone from a business, sometimes, you know, making 95% of what you can make, but taking that 5% to make sure that the consumers who are spending that money are also taken care of a little bit. That might be the better way of doing it than just squeezing 102% out.
Cage, 92,000. How much was each card sold for?
A couple bucks, you know. I mean, there are a few dollars each card, I think. I didn't even look.
So let's say $5. Okay.
Yeah.
So that 500K overnight.
Yeah, it's more than that. I'm telling you, because they also sell these autographed parallels, and the 1 of 1 was $15,000, and the out of 5 was like thousands of dollars.
So 500K if every card is $5, or 555K if now you start charging for the parallels. That 50K, you guys need it that bad. You just got bought out by Fanatics. You just went through a gold rush. That 50K, because what you don't understand, or what people don't understand, is that 50K to Topps is nothing, but that 50K stimulus back into people's pockets, where someone like opens it up with their dad and they get a Topps Aaron Judge 1 of 1 auto, and they make a video and they go nuts. That's worth more to the hobby than the 50K in Topps' pocket.
So like everything else, I think there are tiers and layers of people who are able to actually get those high-end stuff. I think Topps has like a platinum level of people who are able to even order those high-end things.
Good.
And, I think that's kind of the way that it works. Because I remember back in one of the Twitter follows that I had, Twins
Shine
Jake.
or Ken Golden?
No. You remember Twins Jake? He was the guy who he was pre-ordering all of the Topps Project 2020s, and he was getting 1 million of them. You could order them the whole 9 yards. And then all of a sudden, take a look. It's on Twitter.
I missed Topps 2020.
Then the Topps 2020 imploded. I always forget to talk about it. Imploded, and he had all these orders that people were like, "I don't want them. They're selling for less than what you were charging me." And all these pre-orders, and people were returning to. I mean, he was just actually. What was amazing was in the beginning when the price went up like crazy, he was still selling it to people for the pre-order price, even though he could have told them, "Screw you, I'm going to sell it for the thousands of dollars that I can make." He was, But then when it went the other way, the people who were buying from him said, "Sorry, no." So anyway, he bought so much stuff. I see him post on Twitter about these Topps now. It's like, hey, they're going to have an Aaron Judge card. Get in your pre-orders with me now. And he'll post the email and it says Dear Topps Platinum member. You could see it in there. I'm not a platinum.
Why does a direct-to-consumer product need to go through a middleman?
Dude, do me a favor. You could do it. Pull up Twitter, type Twins Jake, and you'll see there's, almost every day when there's a big, Topps, whatever it is.
Jake, I apologize for not knowing who you are.
No. You don't. It's not.
What value? Doesn't Judge hits home run 62? Topps says we're releasing Topps Now card. Just hit the buy it now button, as many as you want, and they'll ship you the product.
Right, and randomly inserted, you could have this. You could get one of the autos. You could do this, blah, blah, blah. I think so. A couple things.
Where does Twins J come into this equation?
Because he's like a platinum thing. But I think a couple things. Number one, they can get those cards out to people immediately, whereas autographs of Aaron Judge as he's going through the playoffs and the whole 9 yards might not be as easy for them to get out. So you can't just say, all right, we'll send you these and randomly insert an Aaron Judge auto, because that Aaron Judge auto might not come for months. Whereas they can now send that $500,000 worth of these cards out to people because it's just a matter of printing a card. Aaron Judge doesn't have to be there for them to make an Aaron Judge card. They get the picture, they make the card, and they sell out 90,000 of them. So it's a little tougher than that logistics-wise, I think, is what they would tell you if they were here. But I understand the sentiment, and I understand what you're saying. Look, ultimately, to wrap it up the hour, you have this great saying, and you say it all the time, and you're right about it. And I think maybe it comes from running the cafe with your family. You've lost customers. You've gotten customers back who you lost. You've kept loyal customers for years. And you say that if you're going to vote, you vote with your wallet, right? I mean, that is how you cast your vote for something. If you want to support something, you support with money. And if you don't, if you're treated poorly, if the food you're getting or the smoothie you're getting doesn't have the amount of peanut butter in it you want, you take your dollars, you take your money, and you go elsewhere. You go to the smoothie place down the block. Yeah, people are obviously spending their money still buying 90,000 of these cards without the need for an insert.
What I'm actually saying is the smoothie business is getting squeezed from all sides. And people are like, why are people pumping and dumping and all this stuff? Well, the incentives is I can't make a good living any other way because I'm getting squeezed from all angles. So I have to look out for my own.
So who fixes it?
I think to start, it's the companies that really have like Topps, Panini, Fanatics, the manufacturers, grading companies. They have responsibility because their economics have been through the roof the last 5 years, and they have the customer base. So they're the ones with all the levers to pull.
All right. I consider them the smoothie makers, and we're the people buying the smoothies.
Topps?
Yeah.
Topps is not the smoothie maker.
In my example, they are. We have the choice whether
the LCS is the smoothie maker. The people with an eBay store are the smoothie maker.
Okay. So
Topps is Cappuccino Connection.
Okay. All right.
And Topps and their distributors in this scenario.
You've ruined the example, but great. I understand what you're saying.
That's not fair. I mean, we're ripping.
The point is, we as the consumer have the decision whether to spend our money with a certain place or not, right? And Topps Now, which is a direct-to-consumer thing that we're talking about here, people voted. They have no problem with it. They didn't turn around and say, oh, Topps, you're screwing us here. No, and why would Topps change when they can just print $500,000 like that, or probably more?
So it's not food. We don't need to live off of cards, except unless you're named Ian and you eat this for protein. So yes, we have the right to buy or not to buy.
Yeah.
But it's an oligopoly where 5-6 companies control, I would say, 90% of the asset potential in the hobby. So you can't just go to another smoothie maker. There's only really one or two.
Right, until people stop buying cards.
That's the only option. Yes. Stop buying smoothies, hold your breath longer than these smoothie makers, and maybe through, remember silent treatment in like 7th grade?
Maybe they start
I'm not
drinking
going to talk to you
something
for
else.
a week until you change your behavior. And then you like pass each other. You're like,
Yeah, and maybe you drink something else until the smoothie guy figures out that they're not getting your money anymore and they got to make a change. Maybe, I mean,
shun.
unshunned.
So thank you all for listening to another episode of Lucas, Tigers, and Bronzo My. I wanted to tell you about a new service that we have starting as of today, and I'm really, really excited to bring it to you guys. So as a part of our partnership with SGC, we got 50 free submissions every single month, and many of you have taken advantage of that. And it's amazing that we could have the opportunity to 650 episodes, 675 episodes in, to go ahead and give back to our community. As people were sending those cards in, they asked, can we send 5, 10, 20 more cards to you guys? We'll pay for it, but we wanted them graded with SGC. You guys know SGC is turning cards around in 13 to 14 business days, have incredible customer service, and their secondary market values are going up day after day after day. And that's exciting for the hobby and exciting for the grading landscape. So we didn't want to just rush into it. We wanted to do it right. And what we did was I relocated here to Boca Raton, Florida. I opened up a P.O. box maybe 5 minutes away from SGC, and I will be hand delivering and hand picking up the cards. So you don't have to worry about anyone else touching your cards. It will be me, and I will update you every step of the way. So here's how it's going to work. I'm going to personally pick up the cards from a P.O. box, prep them, new card saver, new penny sleeve, and deliver them to SGC every single Tuesday. Why Tuesday? Well, it lets the stragglers over the weekend come back through on Monday and gives me a day to prep, and it basically gives SGC the entire week to work on grading those cards. Once your cards pop, only then at the end of the process will you be paying for the service. It's $25 per card, simple as that, and the turnaround times have never been faster. We're hearing right now 13, 14, less than 20 business days. So there it is. 9170 Glades Road, number 135 is the P.O. Box in Boca Raton, Florida, 33434. 9170 Glades Road, number 135, Boca Raton, Florida, 33434. Of course, you could shoot me an email or shoot me a text anytime, and I'm always available. Many of you already have my email. It's iamandrewgoldberg@gmail.com. or my cell phone number, 215-519-9154. Reach out with any questions. I could walk you through the process. I've hopped on the call with quite a few of you, and I'm happy to do that. Love you, Luca Nation.